Hello everybody. Today I want to do something new. I want to try to relate some cards as the majors in the Thoth deck to one of my favorite books, which is the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I do not have a physical copy of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, but I have a book which is based on that Book of the Dead, and it is one of the reasons why I can safely understand and understand the process, the what are being written in that book. And I believe many of you know what this book I'm going to show you is. I have it in the Chinese version, and it's the one and only book I bought when I go overseas. I bought it in China, Yunnan province, and it is a book that is very close to my heart because it's my first overseas trip that's very far. So the first trip that is not very close, in not within the Southeast Asia for me. And this is the Tibetan Book of Living and Dead. So it's originally in English. I shall show you the English cover for those who are looking for it. So the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. I read this book once and I haven't read it but for the Tibetan Book of the Dead, I managed to find 2 editions in my local library, and I read different versions of the same book just for an idea on how people translate the book, and I wanted to get one copy for the purpose of this video, but I couldn't find it, so you will have to deal with looking at this. So when I first saw the Thoth deck, one reason why it immediately finds a place in my heart because I found that the moon card is very symbolic of what the Tibetan Book of the Dead is about. But I would, for the purpose of this video, I tried to challenge myself to use the majors from death to world to describe the journey, and I'm trying to do it in the numerical order. But when I tried to revise my thoughts through rereading the Tibetan Book of the Dead, I find it very hard because it seems to go back and forth in some areas. So I would like to seek your forgiveness if you really feel that the first journey should be followed even when we are dead. And just a caution that I'm just a layman, so there are laymen in understanding the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Maybe I even misread some portions of the book, so I hope that those who are more learned in or who have studied this Tibetan Book of the Dead for a very long time would try to understand where I'm coming from as a layman. I would first like to talk about why I love the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It's also through this book, Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. One of the questions that was asked in this book when I read it first, and which has stayed with me for a very long time, is to understand how is the author asking, how can we become awake in the middle of sleep? So I believe you all know when we close our eyes and between the time we go into the REM stage, the rapid eye movement stage, which symbolizes which makes us have dreams. So how do we know that we are sleeping? So that unconscious state between closing the eyes and dreaming. So how can we wake up in the middle of that? Because the process of dying is very similar to that, and if we cannot understand, we cannot know how to wake up in that middle of the sleep, the unconscious stage, we can not hope to come to a stage of waking up when we are dying, when we are dead. So this question it asks us as a reader stayed with me a lot, cause until now I still don't know how to wake up in that middle of the corpse-like sleep, which is known as the dream bardo. And from reading of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, I knew that there were several stages of bardo. So one of which is the bardo of reality, in which we recognize that what manifests is because that's how we perceive the world. So what manifests is just our thought patterns. So in the midst of reading this Tibetan Book of the Dead, I realized how vulnerable we are. Yeah, so it really it's a really bittersweet book for me, because I learned a lot about empathize with our human condition after I read that book. I just one thing that did not sit well with me through the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Living and Dying is that there's a lot of ritual spoken about in the book. So it's not accessible to people like us who are far from Tibet, who do not have access to people who are learned in the art of making sure that we come to a moment of realization that we are dead. So despite that, I believe that whatever is in this book can still apply to us. Like what many tarot readers will say, take those which resonate with you. And also this book makes me think about what we are as a soul. You know, like when we are alive, we have this body. Oops, that's my bones squeaking. Yeah, so we have this body, this physical body, but when we are dead, we do not have a physical body. When we have a physical body, we are limited to doing much more things. For example, when we are angry, we don't usually flip a table because not only are there social implications, the process of flipping the table is not that easy a task to do. So even if we are angry, we can control it, we can learn, we are conditioned to control it. But when we are a soul, we are not limited, we are limitless. So in that case, what will happen when we experience anger? It will be magnified. The feeling will be magnified and it will not be good for us. Yeah, so after about 10 minutes of talking about this book, maybe I can go into how I relate the process of death to the majors, starting from death, because that's where we come from when we the moment of being the moment of dying come from. And I might cut. So let's start with death. When we die, we are separated from our physical body. So I see this separation as the scorpion becoming the eagle. Separation. So the eagle will be our spirit, because it's air, it's up there, while here on the ground is our gross body. So in Buddhism, I remember reading as a child, where Buddha talked about us. Not only we have to think about the beautiful things about our body, like our outer appearance, we must also think about the not so nice things about our body. For example, the fats, our excretion, our the blood, the things that is within our body that's not so nice. So do not quote me on that, because I cannot find a source for it. So but whatever it is, the process of dying, our body will start to decay. So this is the rot, this is the fat, the blood, the organs that we leave behind. So when we die in a Tibetan Book of the Dead, because many of us, we are not trained to do so, so sometimes we do not even know that we have died. We simply fall into a kind of a faint. So in this process will last for a few days. That's why Buddhists, or perhaps like from my experience as an Asian, our funerals are not instantaneous, but last a period of time from 3 days, 5 days. Now we go on to temperance. So for temperance, or art in the Thoth, I find this a more difficult card to relate to in our journey, because but when I think about it, I thought that it might mean us expanding, because temperance is ruled by Sagittarius, which is about the expansion, Jupiter, the rulership. So when we go from a physical body to a soul, we are expanding, we are becoming limitless. And sorry for the glare. And I know that this card has something to do with the philosopher's stone, and from an alchemical process. So this philosopher's stone is like our Buddhahood. So for Buddhism, what I know is that Buddha believed that all of us are like, we have seeds of Buddhahood within us, so we have the power to become the divine if we work on it. So I perceive this art card, or temperance, to be the start of a journey to recognize our Buddhahood, so we connect to life. So for art or temperance, it's always a fire and water, so it's like two opposites. So at this stage, when the soul finally wake up to the realization that they are changed, they will ask something like, am I dead or am I not dead? So there's the duality involved. Okay, I think I have spent some time talking a bit, I fall into a bit of ramble about this book, so probably I will do a two-parter. See you in the next video.